Danny Phantom is a timeless animated series that originally premiered in 2004. The plot follows a young teenager named Danny Fenton, who becomes a half-ghost after an encounter with a mysterious portal in his basement. Danny often protects his town and the world from ghostly threats, all the while keeping his supernatural alter ego a secret. The story begins with our protagonist, Daniel Fenton, also known as Danny, who lives with his eccentric family in a quaint suburban town. His parents, Jack and Maddie, have an unconventional profession as ghost hunters. He also has an older sister named Jazz who, although occasionally intrusive and overbearing, genuinely cares about her brother. Danny's closest friends consist of Sam, an assertive and gothic teenager who places a high value on her close-knit group of friends, and Tucker, a knowledgeable nerd who seems to be well-versed in a variety of topics. Living with parents fixated on the supernatural, Danny has to endure their peculiar personalities. Initially, he comes across as an ordinary high school student dealing with the typical challenges faced by teenagers. Nevertheless, everything takes a dramatic turn when his curiosity inadvertently triggers a bizarre laboratory mishap, forever altering the course of his life. On a particular day, while wandering around his parents' laboratory, Danny is persuaded by his close friends, Sam and Tucker, to explore a mysterious portal. This portal, named Fenton Ghost Portal, was recently invented by his parents, Jack and Maddie, to bridge the gap between the human world and the ghostly realm. While inspecting the portal from within, Danny inadvertently activates it by pressing a button, setting the ghost portal in motion. This action results in his DNA becoming infused with ectoplasm, turning Danny into a unique fusion of human and ghost. Becoming a hybrid of human and ghost introduces a unique set of perks, granting Danny an array of supernatural abilities. These powers enable him to soar through the air, become invisible at will, and even detect the presence of ghosts, among other extraordinary skills. Eventually, Danny decides to adopt the secret role of a superhero persona known as Danny Phantom, dedicated to protecting his town from the malevolent spirits that plague it. The only challenge he faces is the need to keep his superpowers hidden from his ghost-obsessed parents, his prying sister Jazz, and everyone else at school. The story begins with Jack in the basement laboratory, explaining all things supernatural to Danny, Sam, and Tucker. He then proudly displays his inventions while delving into their mechanics. Unexpectedly, the Fenton Ghost Portal springs to life, releasing a pair of ghost octopuses that seize Sam and Tucker. Danny promptly shifts into his ghostly alter ego, Danny Phantom, and confronts the ghosts. After successfully driving them away, he reverts to his human form just in the nick of time to evade detection by Jack. The following morning, Danny has trouble controlling his newfound powers. Simultaneously, Maddie and Jack test their newly completed Fenton Finder, a device designed to track ghosts, which inexplicably leads them to Danny. Later at school, Sam reveals that she has successfully convinced the school board to modify the cafeteria menu with an ultra-recycled vegetarian cuisine. Due to this, the spirit of a former lunch lady seizes the opportunity to escape through the activated Fenton Ghost Portal in the laboratory. Back at school, one of the popular guys goes on to blame Danny for the unappetizing food and tries to force him into eating it. In an attempt to avoid the bully, Danny stirs up a food fight, creating chaos in the cafeteria that allows him and his friends to slip into the school kitchen. Unfortunately, they encounter the lunch lady ghost inside, and Danny assumes his ghostly form to the rescue of his friends. He then takes on the lunch lady ghost, who utilizes the kitchen's meat supplies to manifest into a monstrous meaty form. Ultimately, Danny uses his ghostly superpowers and successfully helps his friends to escape. The next day at school, the lunch lady ghost reemerges, and this time she materializes into an even larger and more powerful meat monster. Additionally, she summons meaty henchmen from the meat supplies, leading Danny to transform into his ghostly state once again. Utilizing his powers, Danny battles against them before activating Jack's Fenton thermos to capture them. The following morning, Danny pays a visit to his father in the Fenton lab. He then observes Jack working on his latest invention, the Fenton Ghost Fisher, which is designed to capture ghosts from the Fenton Ghost Portal. When Jack steps away for a moment, Danny accidentally snags a dragon ghost through the fissure, leading to a fierce battle between the two. During their battle, the amulet worn by the dragon unknowingly detaches and falls into Danny's backpack. The dragon ghost then transforms into a medieval ghost princess, Dora, who simply wishes to attend a princess costume ball. She then quickly escapes back through the ghost portal, leaving Danny baffled. Later at school, Danny asks the class beauty, Paulina, to be his date for the school dance. However, his nervousness triggers his ghostly powers, causing his pants to become invisible and fall down. As a result, the entire students, including Paulina, burst into laughter. In an attempt to defend Danny, Sam confronts Paulina about her behavior and even criticizes her for being superficial. Enraged by this, Paulina secretly vows to win Danny's attention away from Sam. Later, she approaches Danny at his locker, where they both spot the amulet that had slipped out of Danny's backpack. Thinking on his feet, Danny fabricates a story about the amulet, claiming that it's a special gift he got for Paulina. She then happily agrees to go to the dance with him and leaves with the amulet, her eyes glowing mysteriously. Later, Danny, Sam, and Tucker are at the mall when they stumble upon Paulina, who is still wearing the mysterious amulet. When she becomes upset, this emotional outburst triggers the amulet's power and transforms her into a powerful dragon. Fortunately, Danny intervenes to confront the dragon, and Paulina safely reverts to her normal state after the battle. Following this, Danny, Sam, and Tucker learn that extreme distress or anger can trigger the amulet's power, causing the wearer to transform into a dragon. At that moment, it suddenly dawns on Danny that the amulet is the one he previously gave to Paulina. On the night of the dance, he attends with Paulina as his date to retrieve the amulet. He then falsely claims that the amulet actually belongs to Sam, causing Paulina to storm off in anger. Eventually, Sam finds Paulina in the restroom and offers a heartfelt apology for her previous insults. During this conversation, she clarifies that she's simply Danny's friend and not his girlfriend as Paulina had presumed. Upon hearing the truth, Paulina returns the amulet to Sam by placing it around her neck. Additionally, she confesses to having played with Danny's feelings as a way to get back at Sam. This revelation leaves Sam enraged, causing her to instantly transform into the dragon and abduct Paulina. To resolve the situation, Danny fights against Sam in her dragon form and captures her using the fenton fisher. Once she's secured, he restrains her and removes the amulet, causing her to revert back to her normal state. With the school dance winding down, Sam asks Danny for one last dance, and he accepts with eagerness. On another day, Tucker and Sam decide to accompany Danny on a ghost hunting expedition near the harbor. During their adventure, they encounter a ghost known as the Box Ghost, whom they capture using the special fenton thermos. However, in a moment of clumsiness, Tucker drops the thermos, releasing all the ghosts they had caught that night. At that moment, Skulker, a ghost hunter known for his fascination with rare and unusual ghosts, secretly observes their ghost hunting activities. Additionally, he becomes particularly intrigued by Danny's unique status as a half-ghost and decides to make him his newest target. The next day, Jack introduces another fenton creation, the Ghost Gabber, which translates the cryptic sounds produced by ghosts into ordinary human speech. Later at school, Sam suggests doing an extra credit assignment in order to improve their grades. She then reveals her plan to study Samson, a rare purple-back gorilla living in the town's zoo. Meanwhile, Skulker continues to secretly follow and observe their actions. In the zoo, it's Sam who exhibits a true fascination with the gorilla, whereas Danny and Tucker grow increasingly bored and eventually doze off. Moments later, Samson becomes aware of Skulker's presence and tries to alert Sam, who misinterprets his actions as a sign that he wants freedom. As soon as Sam unlocks the cage, Samson launches an attack on Skulker and hurls him toward Danny and Tucker, waking them up. Skulker then quickly makes his getaway, leaving Danny to help in returning Samson to his cage. Afterward, the trio heads back to Danny's house, only to discover Skulker waiting for them. He then promptly traps Danny in a net, but Danny uses his ghostly powers to become invisible and effortlessly breaks free. Shortly after, Skulker manages to escort him down to the basement lab to capture him. In the nick of time, Sam and Tucker divert the ghost hunter's attention, granting Danny the chance to attack and escape. Following this, Skulker ventures into Samson's cage in pursuit of Danny, only to fall for a clever ruse by Sam and Tucker in gorilla costumes. As a final resort, Danny calls upon Samson, who defeats Skulker and dismantles his armor, revealing him as a small green, blob-like entity. Ultimately, Danny successfully captures Skulker in the fenton thermos. On the following day, Danny's older sister, Jazz tutors Dash, who invites her to his upcoming party. She agrees to go, but on the condition that Danny can also attend the party. Meanwhile, in the lab, Jack introduces Danny to his latest invention, the Fenton Ghost Weasel, a type of vacuum device. When activated, it demonstrates its powerful suction by inadvertently sucking up the special Fenton thermos. Jack then steps away momentarily to find the Fenton unlodger, while Danny tries to reverse the Ghost Weasel. Despite successfully ejecting the thermos from the machine, it ultimately strikes the Fenton Ghost portal button, unintentionally releasing a ghost named Technus. As he shifts into his ghostly alter ego, Danny engages in a fierce battle with Technus, eventually managing to capture the ghost using the Fenton Weasel. Unfortunately, the machine becomes overloaded, resulting in the expulsion of ectoplasmic goo that covers the entire lab. Later that day, Danny receives an unexpected invitation from Dash to his party, which leads to him being recognized by other popular kids. Danny is thrilled to be part of this new social circle, to the extent that he starts distancing himself from his best friends. Subsequently, Danny decides to organize a garage sale, selling various items from his dad's laboratory to raise money for some new clothes to wear to the party. After the sale, he abandons his friends in order to attend the party. That evening, Tucker discovers that Sam's family is actually quite wealthy, but she has kept her family's wealth a secret to avoid having friendships solely based on her financial background. As Danny gets ready for the party, he inadvertently comes across one of the gadgets he sold, which seems to be possessed. The gadget immediately begins to act erratically and aggressively targets him. After successfully defeating it, he chooses to disregard the potential danger and proceeds to attend the party. At Dash's event, Danny finds himself amid a crowd of popular kids, none of whom he can connect with. This situation ultimately makes him realize the mistake of abandoning his true friends. While heading upstairs, Danny unexpectedly encounters Technus, who has merged himself with various technologies, creating a massive mechanical entity. Another heated battle unfolds in Dash's room, with Danny trying to prevent Technus from further upgrading himself. The confrontation eventually moves outside, where Danny reunites with Sam and Tucker. He calls out for their help, but they refuse since he left them behind. However, realizing Danny's sincerity, they accept his heartfelt apology. Together, they join forces to become formidable opponents, to Technus successfully capturing him in the Fenton Thermos. Ultimately, Danny realizes that what truly matters are his genuine friendships, not his temporary association with the popular kids at school. Moving on, Danny and Tucker reluctantly help Sam to move boxes filled with live frogs. She plans to convince the school to switch to using robotic frogs for dissection, and thus save the live frogs. Unexpectedly, the box ghost emerges from one of the boxes and attacks Danny using boxes filled with costumes and props. As the curtains open, Sam is met with the sight of her Save the Frogs poster alongside Danny, who is wearing makeup, a pink dress, and a bra. Naturally, Sam directs her anger toward Danny for apparently sabotaging her entire campaign. Afterward, Danny is assigned a new locker, number 724, after the box ghost damaged his old one. Upon opening the locker, he discovers only a mirror hanging inside, leading Tucker to suspect that the locker is cursed. Suddenly, Dash and his friends arrive and forcefully shove Danny into his new locker. In a fit of anger, Danny transforms into his ghostly form and defeats the bullies. As they leave, locker 724 begins to glow, and a mysterious voice echoes from within. The following day at school, a mysterious ghost emerges from Danny's new locker, seeking vengeance against all the bullies he encounters. Tucker then shares the story of Sidney Poindexter, a local nerd from the 1950s who endured more bullying than anyone else in their high school. Since poor Sidney was frequently stuffed in his locker, it's rumored that his ghost haunts it to this day. Later on, Danny takes Sam's frogs and stuffs them down Dash's pants. Tired of being bullied, Sidney, finally freed from his locker, witnesses Danny's actions and confronts him. Despite his attempts to explain himself, Danny only manages to infuriate Sidney, leading to yet another battle. In the heat of the confrontation, Danny accidentally transforms back into his human form. This change prompts Sidney to realize that Danny is actually half human and half ghost. Unexpectedly, Sidney possesses Danny's body, resulting in Danny's ghostly half ending up in Sidney's body in the 1950s Ghost Zone, a parallel dimension inhabited by all ghosts. Here, Danny experiences the harsh reality of being a target for bullying, similar to what Sidney endured. Upon returning to his locker, Danny desperately tries to reach out to Tucker and Sam, who eventually hear him when they approach locker 724. He then shares the story of the body swap situation, and with his friend's support, they devise a plan to regain control of his body. Later on, Sam convinces Sidney to help a fellow nerd in need. However, when Sidney arrives at the arranged meeting spot, he finds only Tucker waiting for him. Tucker uses Jack's latest invention, ghost gauntlets, to capture Sidney, sending him back to his own realm through the portal within the mirror. In the Ghost Zone, a fierce battle unfolds at the ghostly school, with Sidney accidentally returning to his own body. Defeated, he initially swears revenge but is suddenly praised by his peers for his impressive fight against Danny Phantom. They express interest in hanging out with him, leading Sidney to gladly accept their invitation and set aside any thoughts of revenge. Upon returning to his own world, Danny destroys the mirror. Simultaneously, Sam's wish for the school to use mechanical frogs for dissection instead of real ones is granted. However, things take an unexpected turn as the box ghost reappears and snatches one of the robotic frogs, claiming to be the mechanical frog ghost. Fortunately, the frog malfunctions and douses him in slime, causing the box ghost to revert back to his original form and vanish. One particular day, Tucker reflects on his friendship with Danny, mentioning they've known each other since forever and share just about everything. In a flashback, we find Danny and Tucker buying a set of skateboard wheels together. Shortly after, a little girl named Millie asks for cotton candy, but her mother declines. Suddenly, a ghost genie, Desiree, escapes from her bottle at a stall. Desiree then fulfills the little girl's wish by causing the cotton candy machine to malfunction, resulting in a flood of cotton candy. Danny then transforms into his ghostly alter ego and fights Desiree when he discovers a new power, the Ghost Ray. In another flashback, we shift to the high school football game with Tucker and a visibly unwell Sam watching from the sidelines. As the game progresses, Dash, the quarterback, makes a desperate wish that he could transform into a monster capable of crushing the opposing team. Desiree then reappears and fulfills his wish by literally turning Dash into a giant green monster. Coming to the rescue, Danny uses his invisibility power to remove a ghost that had possessed Dash, reverting him to his normal state. Danny then captures the ghost in the Fenton thermos and sends it back to the ghost zone through the Fenton ghost portal. The following day, Danny checks on the still sick Sam before heading to the movies with Tucker. Meanwhile, Paulina, who also happens to be at the same theater, gazes at a movie poster and wishes to be as popular as the main character. Just then, Desiree appears and grants her wish, transforming Paulina into a super deformed version of herself that draws everyone's attention. Sensing that something is amiss, Danny then excuses himself from Tucker and heads towards Paulina. In the meantime, Tucker finds himself alone and disappointed that the movie he wanted to see was sold out. In frustration, he wishes he had ghost powers just like Danny, and Desiree grants him with all of the ghost powers. Elsewhere, Danny employs a ghost ray to separate the ghost from Paulina and successfully entraps it within the Fenton thermos. Following this, Danny goes to seek answers from Madame Babazita, the owner of the genie bottle from which Desiree emerged. She proceeds to explain that before becoming a ghost, Desiree was a harem girl who received everything she desired from a sultan. Nevertheless, she was exiled by the jealous sultan's wife, causing her restless spirit to wander for years, granting wishes to those in need. With this new information, Danny summons Desiree with a wish and demands that she revert Tucker back to his normal state. However, she explains that Tucker's fate will soon be sealed. Enraged by this, Danny takes on Desiree and makes a wish to confine her inside the Fenton thermos, a wish that comes true. Elsewhere, Tucker's jealousy continues to fuel his ghost powers, causing him to transform into the most powerful ghost boy ever. The next day, Danny lures Tucker to the Fenton residence and into his parents' laboratory. Subsequently, he pushes Tucker through the Fenton ghost catcher, effectively separating his ghostly half and capturing it in the Fenton thermos. Now restored to his normal state, Tucker apologizes for his jealousy, and Danny offers his apology for showing off his powers. Fortunately, they end up getting back together as best friends. On another day, Jack introduces Danny to his latest invention, the Spectre Speeder, a vehicle capable of seamless flight within the ghost zone. Playfully nudging Danny into the machine, Jack proceeds to give him a tour of the interior. However, their tour is interrupted when Maddie arrives. Furious that Jack forgot their 18th anniversary, in a fit of anger, she strikes the side of the Spectre Speeder, inadvertently causing the vehicle to soar into the ghost zone with Danny still aboard, all while she berates Jack. In the meantime, the Spectre Speeder drifts aimlessly through the ghost zone until it encounters Walker, a warden responsible for maintaining order in the realm. He angrily warns Danny that he is trespassing and in possession of illegal real-world items, leaving Danny feeling intimidated. After the encounter, the Spectre Speeder returns to Fenton Works, where Maddie storms off in frustration. Afterward, Jack pleads with Maddie to stay, but she responds with anger, insisting that she must visit her sister Alicia about the divorce. Surprisingly, Jack makes a trip to Arkansas to apologize to Maddie in person. Meanwhile, Danny heads downstairs to clean the lab and accidentally sends an anniversary present from Jack to Maddie into the ghost zone. On the other side, Alicia advises her sister Maddie that life might be better without Jack. In a twist of fate, Jack lands nearby, entangled in his own parachute, and Maddie mistakenly believes he is a ghost. She quickly defends herself using a Fenton gadget, prompting Jack to flee before he can deliver his apology. Back at home, Danny decides to venture back into the ghost zone in search of the lost present. Sam and Tucker also show up to help by keeping a close eye on him through a mini webcam. Upon his arrival in the ghost zone, Danny opens one of the many doors leading to the lairs of various ghosts. He eventually stumbles into a doorway filled with numerous human world boxes and unexpectedly encounters the mischievous box ghost. Trouble ensues when the Ghost Zone police arrive and arrest both Danny and the box ghost. Upon reaching the prison, Danny discovers that many of the ghosts he had previously captured, including Skulker, are imprisoned there. Elsewhere, Sam and Tucker decide to take the Spectre Speeder to rescue Danny after losing contact with him. Inside the prison, Danny is brought before Walker, who imposes a severe sentence of 1,000 years for violating his first offense warning. Danny also finds himself harassed by several of the ghosts he had captured, until he suggests that they join forces to break free. To create a diversion, Danny and Skulker engage in a mock battle, capturing the guards' attention. This act incites numerous other ghosts to join the fight, leading to a chaotic uprising against the prison guards. While the chaos unfolds, Danny rushes into Walker's office in an attempt to retrieve the lost present, but ends up getting caught in the process. Meanwhile, Tucker and Sam successfully reach the ghost prison while navigating their way around an angry ghost named Dora, who has her heart set on a grand ball dance. At that moment, it dawns on Danny that just as ghosts can pass through objects in the human world, humans can pass through objects in the ghost zone. He then reverts to his human form and swiftly grabs the lost present before fleeing back home. Back in Arkansas, Jack musters the courage to apologize to Maddie, even though he's just realized he left her gift at home. Suddenly, Danny and Jazz swoop in with the gift arriving via parachutes. In an unexpected twist, the divorce was all a misunderstanding, and Maddie had come to celebrate Alicia's 10-year anniversary since her own divorce. Ultimately, Danny and Jazz rediscover happiness as their parents unite to chase down the box ghost who emerged from the present. In the week that follows, Jazz tries to initiate a conversation with Mr. Lancer at the high school. She then expresses her growing concern for her brother. Danny, who she's noticed, has been acting strangely. Meanwhile, Danny finds himself in a fierce battle with a shape-shifting, blob-like ghost inside the new guidance counselor's office. The epic showdown results in the complete destruction of the office, but the ghost manages to escape. After the fight, Danny reverts to his human form, and both Mr. Lancer and Jazz catch him alone in the rec room, confirming Jazz's earlier suspicions. Subsequently, Mr. Lancer introduces Jazz to the guidance counselor, Penelope Spectra, who was recently hired as a motivational speaker to boost the students' spirits. Jazz, noticing Spectra's overly optimistic nature, believes that Danny may benefit from her guidance. Encouraged by Mr. Lancer, Danny takes a session with Spectra. After Danny leaves, Spectra eagerly absorbs the energy of his depression. Unbeknownst to all, she feeds on the teenage misery to maintain her youthful appearance. Bertrand, Spectra's assistant, and the shape-shifting blob-like ghost Danny fought earlier, transforms into a giant hornet, creating chaos within the school. Later, he also attacks and corners Jazz, but Danny Phantom arrives just in time to rescue her. Although Bertrand manages to escape, Danny's self-doubt resurfaces. Jazz, who has now witnessed ghosts for the first time, is thrilled to share her experiences with her brother. However, when she mentions that night at home, Danny vehemently denies seeing anything. At that moment, Jack eagerly seizes the opportunity to showcase his latest invention, the portable fenton ghost peeler, an advanced suit designed to disassemble ghosts atom by atom. At school, Bertrand reappears and deviously wraps Danny's backpack strap around the fire alarm, which leads to Danny being in another counseling session. Spectra then tries to help Danny confront his fear of being labeled a baby by having him put on a baby costume. However, when Danny admits that his greater fear is being called a loser, Spectra suggests that his core issue is caring too much about what others think. Just then, Dash and his friends stumble upon Danny in his baby costume and mock him, further diminishing his self-esteem. Later at an ice cream parlor, Danny confides in his friends about his persistent depression. He finally acknowledges that it all began when he started seeing Spectra, and instead of improving, he has only felt worse. Just as Jazz approaches to console Danny, Bertrand makes an unexpected appearance, triggering Danny's ghost sense. He then hastily exits through the back door to transform into his ghost form, unaware that Jazz has followed him. Observing Danny's transformation into a ghost, Jazz promptly informs Sam and Tucker. Despite their efforts to dismiss her claims, she becomes increasingly suspicious of Danny, particularly since she's witnessed his transformation into Danny Phantom. In the meantime, Danny engages in another battle with Bertrand, who manages to escape once again. Back at home, Jazz approaches Danny with compassion, conveying that her concern for him comes from a place of genuine care. The following day at school, it becomes evident that nearly every student who had a session with Spectra is overwhelmingly depressed. Danny, also in a cloud of depression, suddenly comprehends that his ghost sense has been trying to warn him all along. Furthermore, he realizes that Spectra had kept the air conditioning at a frigid temperature to mislead him. Suspecting that Spectra might be a ghost responsible for the widespread teenage depression, Sam and Tucker volunteer for a counseling session with her. However, they emerge from the session even more depressed. Danny, in his ghostly form as Danny Phantom, enters the scene just in time to witness Spectra absorbing Sam and Tucker's despair. He also overhears their sinister plan to use something called the spirit sparklers to vaporize Jazz, which would generate enough despair to keep them youthful for eternity. Upon Spectra revealing her ghostly nature, Danny springs into action, confronting the two adversaries and fighting them simultaneously. In a hard-fought battle, Danny gains the upper hand, causing Spectra to lose some of her powers. Suddenly, Bertrand intervenes, transforming into a ninja to fight. To Danny's surprise, he effortlessly captures Bertrand and the Fenton thermos and rushes off to save Jazz, just in time as the spirit sparklers begin to act erratically. Danny manages to rescue Jazz and brings her to a secure location. Just then, Spectra corners Danny, ready to eliminate him once and for all. Fortunately, Jazz arrives with the Fenton ghost peeler just in time. She then uses the device to strip Spectra of the layers of skin filled with positive spirits, ultimately reducing her to a withered old lady and making her an easy target for Danny. With a secret safely kept, Jazz smiles to herself and decides to wait until Danny is ready to confide in her. She rejoins the gymnasium, where the teenagers, now free from their depression, cheer enthusiastically for her. Back at home, Jazz finds Danny Phantom soaring through the air, once again in high spirits. One particular day, Dash, angered by his own failed test, chases Danny to beat him up. Unfortunately, Danny collides with Paulina, resulting in her coffee spilling all over another student, Valerie Gray's shirt. Infuriated by this, Valerie commands Dash's friend Quan to hurt Danny physically. He quickly escapes to the school parking lot, where he discovers a playful but troublesome ghost puppy named Cujo, who possesses the ability to grow massive. Things take a disastrous turn when Valerie and her father Damon Gray tour the latest state-of-the-art security system at Axion Labs. Cujo, now in giant form, runs amok and wreaks havoc. Danny Phantom then desperately tries to stop the chaos but struggles to contain Cujo. As a consequence of the mayhem, Damon loses his job, forcing him and his daughter to move to a more affordable residence. Danny, Sam, and Tucker are taken aback by the unfortunate outcome. Danny feels responsible for not capturing the mischievous pup and offers his condolences to Valerie, while Tucker attempts to flirt with her. Regardless, Valerie refuses to associate with them at all. Later on, Cujo reappears, and Danny tries to stop the rampaging ghost puppy. He eventually returns the dog to the ghost zone via the fenton portal, but Cujo manages to dig his way back into the human world. The following day, Tucker finds Valerie alone and approaches her to comfort her. However, she reacts with anger and denies his attempt to console her. Shortly after, Cujo reappears in the school cafeteria, creating a ruckus until he encounters Danny, with whom he has developed a liking. Tucker then reveals to Valerie that both Cujo and Danny are ghosts. In the nearby town, a shabby apartment complex serves as Damon and Valerie's new home. Damon then explains to his daughter that he has one last opportunity at Axion Labs, working as a solitary security guard. Before leaving, he hands her a package that contains weapons designed to combat ghosts, and she happily takes the gift. Unbeknownst to them, it turns out to be a gift from Vlad, who secretly observes from the shadows. Elsewhere, in a park, Danny confides in Sam about Cujo repeatedly escaping through the fenton portal and causing further mayhem. In response, Sam provides him with a manual to train Cujo, although it appears that someone has already worked with the mischievous ghost puppy. Shortly after, Valerie intervenes in the training session, fully equipped with her new ghost hunting weapons, and launches a missile. To keep Cujo out of harm's way, Danny sends the ghost puppy to fetch a ball made from his ecto-ray. During the chaos, Danny urges Sam to hide, and she seizes the moment to surprise Danny by kissing him. On the other hand, Valerie sees them kiss and departs, leaving the two alone. Meanwhile, Tucker, recognizing Valerie's growing interest in ghost hunting, informs her that Danny's parents are professional ghost hunters. As a result, Valerie spends time with Tucker to gather as much information as possible about Danny's parents and their ghost hunting profession. During a basketball game, Cujo disrupts the game, prompting both Danny and Valerie to attend to their respective duties. As Valerie continues to pursue them, Tucker remains resolute in his efforts to win her over. Danny then utilizes a dog obedience book to instruct Cujo to retrieve the missing item. The puppy obediently dashes off, ultimately pointing toward Axion Labs. Later on, Danny gathers his friends, and he enters the facility alone, with Sam and Tucker keeping an eye on Cujo from a tree, where they've used the Fenton Fisher as a makeshift leash. Upon spotting Danny inside the building, Valerie immediately attacks him. This leads to an intense confrontation that triggers an alarm, alerting Damon nearby. Cujo, potentially sensing Danny is in danger, dashes after him, dragging Sam and Tucker along. Finally, Cujo manages to reach the lab, just as Danny is pushed back by one of Valerie's weapons, sending him down into an old kennel where guard dogs were once trained. There, Danny unexpectedly discovers a squeaky chew toy in one of the old bags. By reuniting Cujo with his beloved toy, the mischievous puppy finally departs. Afterward, Danny tries to mend his relationship with Valerie, but she remains resolute in her belief that ghosts are nothing but trouble. Frustrated and disheartened, he eventually leaves. As Damon and his boss return to the chaotic room, Tucker takes the blame for the damage to secure Damon's job and save Valerie from the consequences. With Valerie now committed to her pursuit of ghosts, Danny has an additional concern, particularly about the origin of her weaponry. With this, the first 10 episodes of Season 1 ends. Stay tuned, because in the next video, we will cover how Danny saves the world from a giant meteor by urging all the ghosts to unite with him. But that is a matter of another video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and let us know what part you enjoyed the most. See you in the next one.